MOUSE.
Indeed. You guys get all of the fun bills. Right? No other committee has this much fun. So there's a lot of hypotheticals going around. And so I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of reality. I heard that before I got here, there was a question put to the audience of how many people smoke marijuana. And I'm sorry I missed that because I smoked some this morning and I'll probably smoke some tonight. So the fact of the matter is that the war on drugs is an abysmal failure. The reason it's a failure is because it's mislabeled. It's not a war on drugs. It's actually a war on your neighbors, a war on your family, and it's a war on me. So let's talk about a chain of events. Okay, guy's going home, fails to signal, maybe he signals and his signal lights out. Gets pulled over. Oh, what's that I smell? Interesting, okay. Out by the side of the road, guy gets arrested, car gets towed, maybe he can't afford to get bailed out that night, misses work the next day, doesn't have enough money to get his car out of hock because of course it got towed. So now he can't get to work, loses his job, can't pay his mortgage, loses his family. These are the types of things that you're dealing with when you're talking. It's not just, oh, is this guy in jail? Is he in prison? That's not the only way that people's lives are impacted every single day over a plan. So, you know, you have to ask yourself, do I belong in jail? Do I, even if I'm not going to go to jail, okay, do I need to get harassed about a personal habit? Do I look like a menace to society? Very, very threatening? Probably not. I heard a little bit about some of these studies. One of them that apparently they were unable to determine the difference between correlation and causation, where they attributed psychological problems to the use of marijuana instead of understanding that many people who have these problems to begin with self-medicate. So there are a higher percentage of people with psychological problems using. That does not mean that their problems are caused or exacerbated by that use. So yeah, and I've noticed that no one on the other side ever uses the word use. It's always abuse. There is no drug use. There is no going home after work and instead of having a glass of scotch, smoking a bowl and going to sleep because it helps you sleep. And so you don't have to take pharmaceuticals for insomnia. Okay? It's just all abuse. You're all abusers. Really? I mean, you're talking about a really large percentage of the population here. So if we take alcohol as an example, okay, that was against the law federally. Did the feds end up repealing it? Yes. But is that where it started? No. What happened is that states individually just stopped enforcing it. Juries stopped convicting people who were arrested for it. They said this is ridiculous that these people are getting arrested for having a beer or a glass of whiskey. We're not going to send them to jail. So they stopped convicting people. Now here in New Hampshire recently, the legislature did pass a Jury Nullification Act, and that is going to have a big impact on these types of cases going forward. That is, juries are going to be presented, maybe for the first time, with the argument which they weren't able to produce before. Previously, they simply had to say, did the person commit the crime or did they not? Did they possess it or did they not? If they did, you have to find them guilty. Now, due to jury nullification being law in New Hampshire, the defense gets to present the argument and the jury must consider not just did you possess it or did you not possess it, but is the law a a moral and just law. And the jury has the right to say, no, that's not the right thing, and disregard the law entirely. And if marijuana is not legalized, that's what's going to happen. More and more people, jurors especially, you only need 1 out of 12, okay, are going to hang juries, and people are going to stop getting convicted. Now, another reason that there's a lower number of people actually in jail is because that chain of events that I told you, people understand that. They have that pressure on them. And there's a lot of pressure on them to plea bargain, especially when they're saying you're looking at 1 year, 2 years, years of your life. You know, it's, well, you're going to pay us this money or we're going to ruin your life. That's what it boils down to. So people do give in to what amounts to extortion. Okay, I'll go take...
Has this happened to you, sir?
It's happened to lots of people that I know.
Did it happen to you?
No, ma'am. However, I am involved with 2 programs. One of them is called Don't Take the Plea Deal, where we do try to inform people who are arrested for victimless crimes that it's not in their best interest to give in to that type of pressure. And it is in their best interest to exercise their right to go before a fully informed jury and state their case. And with that in mind, there's actually a Peaceful Streets program that's been started. You probably know that when someone gets arrested in most places in New Hampshire for something like marijuana, they get their name in the paper, which again doesn't help, you know, in their personal life, which is unfortunate because it really shouldn't be stigmatized that way. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, for all those reasons, they tend not to go to trial, but we are contacting them. Everyone who gets arrested for marijuana, we're starting with and moving to other victimless crimes, to let them know that there are legal resources available for them and to not take the plea deal. What's going to happen there is going to be the same thing that happened, was the path that happened with alcohol, is that eventually the courts are going to get clogged up, as if they're not overloaded enough already, but they're going to get clogged up with these types of cases. And to prevent that from happening, I think it's important to simply consider the will of the people up front. Again, if 1 in 6 people are using, and people are going to a jury, and you only need 1 out of 12 to say not guilty, you're going to end up with a lot of hung juries. That's a lot of wasted time, and really, that's just resources down the drain.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, no. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a very important area because I tried to get into it with the police and they seem to decline the answer. But you mentioned that you smoke marijuana. I'm assuming you've also been known to drink a little alcohol.
Occasionally.
I wonder if you can relate to us the difference, which is, my bottom line is marijuana the same as harmful, more harmful, less harmful? I mean, alcohol is a substance that we allowed to use freely.
Right.
Is it more harmful than marijuana to you?
And absolutely. There's no question about it. Medical science has the answer. It's called the LD50. That's how much of a given substance you would have to take. What is a lethal dose? Okay. At what point does a substance become a lethal dose for more than 50% of the population? Okay. And with alcohol, that's pretty low. The answer is obvious. That plenty of people die of alcohol-related poisonings all the time at colleges across the country. There is not a single reported case of someone dying of overdosing on marijuana. It does not happen.
So follow-up?
Absolutely unheard of.
Then does it not make sense that if people were allowed legally to use marijuana and use less alcohol, it would be better for them and for society?
Unquestionably.
Representative Robinson.
Do you know of any legal experimentation that we've done in research on marijuana, seeing it's an illegal substance?
The few studies that I've read have been done by the feds, and they typically vary them because they only finance them in order to promote their own position. And even though they begin with a biased position, the facts undeniably lead them to conclude that it's not dangerous, and they end up having to vary their own reports.
follow up, but isn't it a little dangerous for the subjects to admit use when it's jailable?
It is, I mean, to some degree, a lot of it is fear, a lot of it is fear-based. I mean, you know, the fact of the matter is that, as the gentleman here in law enforcement testified, you know, it's not really, I don't think it's the highest priority. I don't think they're gonna follow me home. I don't think they're gonna follow me out to the parking lot and search my car. They probably have better things to do. I hope they do. I mean, I'm serious.
Thank you very much,
I
sir.
believe this gentleman had a follow-up.
No, he doesn't.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.